would you ever consider doing an anonymous survey so that the team feels like, hey, you know what? They don't know who's saying this.
Yeah.
Is that worth it? Or do you just say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to tell the team, be honest with me versus trying to get them to be honest anonymously?
Well, I think you could do it both ways. I like talking to them or hearing specifically from them and knowing who's saying what, mainly so I can go talk to them and dig in deeper if I need to. Like, why do you experience me that way? Not to push back or defend, but just if there was a general kind of answer and I want to dig deeper, I want to know who I could talk to get that, But the whole posture that I have when I'm talking to people is, man, I really appreciate you telling me this. I can see that that's something I need to work on. When have you specifically experienced me that way? Just so I can understand more and just continue saying, man, thank you so much for being honest.
That takes a lot of humility.
It does.
You got to swallow your pride as the leader and go,
that is true.
Okay, I'm not as awesome as I thought I was.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and I'm excited to grow.
Yeah, it's true. It does take a lot of humility, but also being a leader takes a lot of humility. So
true that.
If you don't have the humility, maybe leadership's not the right place for you.
That's so good. Okay, so we've done the audit. We've sent the email.
Actually,
we got some feedback.
Before we jump further, I have a list of questions that I think are helpful.
Ooh, do you have them right here?
Yeah, I got them right in front of me.
This is perfect. You're so prepared.
I brought them just because I know this helped me a lot because I had to really sit and think, like, what are the right questions to get what I really want to find out, So what I said is there's 2 questions I love from 5 Dysfunctions, and one is how do I most contribute to the team, and how do I most detract from the team?
Detract.
Yeah.
Negatively.
Yep.
Okay.
So one's positive, one's negative. I really like those questions. I also asked, what are my behaviors that hold us back? And what are my behaviors that lift us up? So I want a negative and a positive. And I asked, how do you experience me? Good or bad, but just simply, how do you experience me? I like the word experience because it makes it to where when they give feedback, they don't feel like they're attacking me. If you say, well, I experience you like this, instead of you're
We're not defining your character traits.
Exactly.
We're just saying this is my perception.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is my personal experience, my opinion.
Yeah, when you use that word experience, I think it makes it safe for the team because they're not attacking. They don't feel like they're attacking you. And so I like that question specifically. How do you experience me? Good and bad, just how do you experience me? Simply that. And that list of questions, I got some really good stuff from that list specifically. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this level of self-awareness with the audit that takes a lot of humility.
It does.
And it may be a gut punch.
Yeah.
But again, this is leadership.
Yep.
This is the big league. So once we have this audit, what is the next step we've got to do?
Okay, next is actually making the plan. And this is where it goes into depth. This is where the fun stuff is making the plan. And there's three parts to this. And I can go over the 3 parts and then we can go into detail.
Okay, I like that.
So what it takes is, number 1, you have to uncover what really matters to you. You just have to uncover that. If you're a leader, if you're working the job, what matters to you? What gets you up in the morning? That gets you excited? Like, what is that? How has God wired you? What do you want to be known for? It's these kinds of things, like what truly, truly matters. And you want to dig in deep because you don't want to make up something that's not truly you. You really want to sit and think.
This is not aspirational.
It's not.
This is what I would like to be in a perfect world.
Yeah.
This is the core.
Yeah, at the core. Because that stuff doesn't change very much, So, and you are wired a specific way. So you want to dig in deep and really understand what truly, truly matters to me. That step is so important because everything branches out from there. So you got to understand what matters to you. The second part is, if that's what matters to me, then how do I want to be perceived? If that's what matters to me, how do I want to be perceived? In context of that thing that matters. How do I want to be perceived? When you have that list of how I want to be perceived, then you ask yourself, what actions do I need to take to cause that perception? It's just a 3-part thing. What matters to me, how do I want to be perceived, and what actions will cause that perception?
That's
okay.
Awesome. And this is all, let me let the listeners know, it is linked in the show notes. So if you want to follow along, it's a great visual. And I want to call out, you're giving us the secret sauce here, Tim. This is the exact formula we use for all of our businesses, our personalities. They all go through this process to refine their identity.
Yeah.
And so this is huge. Thank you for sharing this with us.
It's no problem. Well, this is the reality. Every way that we dress, every way we walk, every way we talk, all of those things are an expression of internal values. Whether we're thinking about it or not, we are acting and dressing the way that we do based on internal values. That's just how it is. And so if you understand that, and you understand that's the psychology of it, of what's going on deep down, you're just expressing what's inside, then understand what's inside. So what you're expressing on the outside is a good reflection of that. Because when it comes down to it, if people are making unconscious decisions about you all the time, then you want to be intentional and try to make it to where they're making the decisions you want them to make about you. And you do that by understanding what's at your core so you know how to reflect it on the outside. And so that's all we're doing.
That is a lot of psychology there. It's impressive.
Branding is an abstract and complex thing. And so there's a lot of psychology to it. But branding it has to be very human for a brand to connect emotionally. And humans are abstract. Humans are complex. And so the psychology of branding, it is complex. But when you break it down like this and understand your core to know how to express on the outside, then it starts to simplify how to look at brand.
So when we look at a business and you think brand, a lot of people think, okay, it's their logo. It's the colors they use. It's their website.
Yeah.
But that's not how you see brand. That may be the expression of that brand.
Yeah.
That's the final
it's the
part.
identity. Yeah.
But we kind of have to reverse engineer that and go, okay, is there actually some heart behind this? Or is this based out of our values, our core beliefs?
Yeah.
Are people perceiving us the right way based on a logo and some colors we slapped on the website? So it takes a lot of thought and intentionality.
It does.
Even behind the colors that we use for EntreLeadership or for Financial Peace University.
Yeah.
So walk us through this kind of reverse engineering, and it all starts with these core beliefs. So do you write these on a whiteboard? What's the process for getting these beliefs out there?
Yeah, that's what I do is I write them on a whiteboard. And, I have mine that I wrote down that I can share.
This will help us a ton.
Yeah, of what this means to me. But I do. I love sitting down with a team when I'm talking about brand, or sitting down with an individual if I'm talking about a person, and just start uncovering what are those things that matter, And one of my favorite questions is, what makes you angry in the world? That's one of my favorite questions because, Chip died. He talks a lot about emotions, and he says that anger is the only emotion that causes change. And so if you want to change something in the world, then what's that thing that flat out makes you so mad? If you start uncovering that, you can say, probably because that matters to me a lot. That's one of my favorite questions. But how has God wired you? That's one of my favorite questions. Like, what do you know about yourself, of how you are wired? That's a good question. What gets you energized in the morning? What gets you excited? What do you want to be known for? These kind of questions. So when I dig into myself and I ask myself those kind of questions, one of the main things that matters to me, I got 3. And like I said, when the listeners, when they're doing this exercise, just try to come up with 3. Don't try to come up with 20, because then it gets too complex. Then what are you known for? But try to come up with 3. For me, for my personal brand, what really matters to me, number 1 is brand. That's number 1. I believe in the power of compelling brands. If you build a compelling brand, you can change the lives of people if you connect emotionally with a compelling brand. So branding matters so much to me. The second thing that matters so much to me is excellence. I think we've talked about Enneagram on here before. I'm an Enneagram 3. I like winning. I like achieving.
You want to look good doing it.
Yeah, excellence is a big part of that. And so when I really dissect how I am wired, excellence is really important to me. And doing things with excellence, really, really important. But the third one is serving. Like, serving my team is so important to me. I know that the team feels valued, and that we get so much more done when I am serving, when I'm letting go of myself and serving. I know that deep down in my core. So those are the 3 things that matter the most to me when it comes to my job: branding, excellence, and serving. Those are the 3 things core to me. So if I take those 3 things and I start asking, okay, if those are 3 things that matter most to me, then how do I want to be perceived? So if branding and creating great brands is core to who I am and what I love, what gets me up in the morning, gets me going, and how I'm wired, how do I want to be perceived if that's what matters so much to me? How do you think, if you had to throw a word out there?
I think you'd have to be an expert on branding.
Boom, that's exactly what I wrote. Expert. I want to be perceived as an expert. If that's what matters to me, I want to be perceived as an expert. So I just write down expert. All right.
Great.
Second one, excellence. If excellence matters so much to me, how do I want to be perceived? The word that I wrote down is reliable. If everything's excellent, I want people to see me as reliable. I want them to know if it goes to Tim, it's going to be done well. I want them to rely on that. I want to be seen as reliable. I want to be perceived that way. The third one, serving. If serving is what matters to me, how do I want to be perceived? If I'm serving well, I want to be trusted. I want to be trustworthy. That's how I want to be perceived, trustworthy. So if brand and excellence and serving is what matters, how I want to be perceived is expert, reliable, and trustworthy. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. After that,
It's the third part here, the final piece.
Yeah, this is the thing. What I like about this framework is nobody is telling you what to do. You create your own action steps for what to do to cause that perception. And that's what I really like about this, because nobody's is going to be the same. And it shouldn't be. We're all very different from each other, so it shouldn't be the same. So my action steps, if I want to be perceived as an expert, what would it take to be perceived as an expert? Like, what would you say would it take to be perceived as an expert?
You would have to have this level of, I guess, professionalism in everything you do.
Yeah.
To where you're seen as a teacher, a guide.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great answer. So I have research and teach. I have that as one of my things. So I wrote down, well, if I'm going to be perceived as an expert, I should probably read about one brand and marketing book a month. I should probably do that. And then I should probably be teaching people the stuff that I learn. Get in front of people and teach that. You learn way more when you actually have to teach it. And so I wrote down, well, I need to research and teach. I also need to guide teams in their brand, and I need to speak up in meetings when brands are off. I need to do those things. So I have those action steps around expert. For reliable, if I want to be seen as reliable, I wrote down for myself, I want to dress well. I actually made that decision years ago. I said, I want to be seen differently, and I did want to be seen as reliable. So I made a decision, I'm going to wear collar shirts to work every day. And I'm not saying there's anything bad with wearing t-shirts and all that, but I made the decision for myself. If I want to be seen as reliable, I'm just going to choose to wear collar shirts and just do that every day. So I'm always wearing a collar shirt like this,
You look great. Thanks
Thank
for dressing
you. I appreciate it. I also, if I want to be reliable, I wanted to be good at presenting. And so I've worked really hard over the years at being comfortable on stage and being comfortable in front of a room and presenting things, because I know that is going to make people believe that I'm reliable if I'm presenting myself really well.
Which you did at one of our recent EntreLeadership Conferences. It was fantastic. It's always a fan favorite, I got to say.
Well,
including me. I'm always sitting there taking notes furiously. I'm like, I've seen this talk 4 times and it's still so good.
I appreciate that. Well, what's interesting is, if we're talking about personal brand, the things on my list, researching and teach and presenting, those are part of the personal brand. I made a decision years ago, I want to be good at those things. And so now I love working here because I get the opportunity to speak on stage. Now with the reps that I've gotten, I love speaking on stage and I love teaching. I love teaching this stuff. It's so much fun. And but I've gotten so many reps doing it that now I just really, really enjoy it. And so I think the perception has become, in ways, what I've wanted to become, because I've worked on these things, but there's an action plan to get there, And the third one for being trustworthy, I know that to be trustworthy, I should probably put everything away in my one-on-ones. If I'm going to build trust with the team member, I should put away my computer, put away my phone, so I can look them in the eyes and they know I'm paying attention and I'm listening. I literally, when I'm in one-on-ones, if I have to take notes on my computer, I will tell them every time, I'm taking my computer out, but it's only take notes. It's not to check email.
So they know you're not distracted. You're focused.
Yeah, exactly.
You're someone I can trust.
Yeah, this meeting is about them. So that's what I mean. You just write out an action plan. What does it take to be perceived that way? And this is the reality. If you're consistent over time with those actions, then eventually people will perceive you that way. And if they perceive you that way, they're going to understand what matters to you. And so you can kind of backtrack what ends up happening. And so consistency over time, it makes it really clear. This is what matters to Tim. And this is what he's known for. And you just end up with a good personal brand.